Welcome to Lesson 7 in Unit 13, Adapting to Change. In this lesson, students will answer the question, how do living things of the same kind help each other survive? They will figure out that some animals form social groups of the same species. These groups help individuals survive better than if they are alone. Different species form different kinds of groups, each with their own types of jobs. In the Engage portion of the lesson, ask students to use a turn-and-talk strategy to brainstorm ways that a living thing could avoid dangers that threaten its survival. After brainstorming, record a few student responses on chart paper for later in the lesson. In the Explore portion of the lesson, students will use the ecosystem posters from earlier in this unit to explore how animals of the same species interact with each other. Using the posters, ask students to look for evidence of organisms of the same kind living together, and then share out with the class. After sharing, ask them to make a claim about why these animals may stay close to each other within their ecosystem. In the Explain portion of the lesson, students will use this journal page to gather and record evidence to support their claim about whether or not it is helpful for animals to live in a group. First, read this book, Animals That Live in Groups, pausing to allow students to record key examples of how living in social groups helps animals on their journal page. A detailed read-aloud guide for this book is in the teacher pages. Then ask students what they think happens to animals that stray away from their groups, either by accident or because their group pushed them out. After taking a few responses, show this video of sharks and a crane preying on a school of fish. Ask students to use what they have learned about animals of the same species working together to survive to explain what is happening in the video. What evidence do they have that the fish are using social groups to help increase the likelihood they will survive? How were the crane or the sharks able to catch fish in this example? Give students time to return to this student journal page to record their evidence. In the Elaborate portion of the lesson, introduce the idea that bees are another example of a social group. Introduce the read-aloud book, The Honeymakers, by asking students to focus on bee colonies and the jobs each bee has as they listen to the book. See the teacher pages for a detailed read-aloud guide. After reading, students will use a think, pair, share strategy to discuss what may happen to bees that are kicked out of the colony. Prompt students to give reasoning for their opinion as they share. Then show students this video of drone bees. Include any evidence gathered from this example by adding it in their journal. In the Evaluate portion of the lesson, guide students to make an argument about social groups. This could be done using a claim, evidence, reasoning scaffold, as written here on this journal page, or if students are ready to write their own argument with evidence and reasoning, these scaffolds could be removed. Once students have a completed argument, ask a few to share out with the class. Finally, return to the unit phenomena, asking students what they have figured out in this lesson that will help us figure out a solution to the disappearing bees in Bill's story. Add to the ongoing unit phenomena chart so that students have evidence of how their thinking is evolving over time. By the end of this lesson, students will construct an argument that some animals form groups to help them survive.